I was thinking about starting this off with you're getting sacked in the morning chant for Pep, but I listened to a lot of stuff today, and to be honest, I didn't really want to come here and like hammer into him and City. I know there's 3 Liverpool fans here and a Man United fan, so we're probably a bit happy that they got beat, but I didn't want to do that because at the end of the day, you've probably seen potentially the greatest team in England. I mean, what have they won? 4 league titles in a row? 6 out of 7, as Pep reminded everybody yesterday. So I don't want to like dig into City. Just want to talk about the game, and then we can do as we always do and talk about the other sides of the league. Because at the end of the day, throw some digs in there because it was quite funny that he snapped and did that. To be honest, I quite liked it. It was funny. I think that shows when you're having to do that, you're starting to try and remind everyone of what you've done. I think we said that about Ten Hag a lot. He was reminding people of the trophies he'd won. To start with. So I just thought that was interesting for Pep, but we'll dive into it. Matthew, I was thinking about starting it with you, since we watched it together. I picked this game because, let's be honest, in the last kind of 5 seasons or so, it's probably been the game that everyone's been tuning into. It's been the 2 teams that have been going for the title. Arsenal have added themselves into the equation in the last 2 years, absolutely. But Liverpool and City has been the 2 big games. It felt like it coming into it, obviously with the situation that if Liverpool win, they can go 11 points clear. And City are in, you would say, a crisis for them. A lot of teams lose 5 games. Or what's that now? 7? 6? What are we on?
It's 4 league games in a row.
4 league games.
6 defeats and a draw.
And a draw.
Yeah.
6 defeats and a draw. Which for other teams, that happens to them every season, but not for City. But it was a game. I think, Matthew, for me, it went how I think everyone kind of thought it would go. Liverpool came in. I think the most impressive thing from Liverpool was, I think, and under Slot so far, they've showed this season, they're doing what they should do in the game. Like they're performing and they're getting the result that they should get. Yeah. And I thought they did Liverpool, yeah. And I thought they did that yesterday. So go on, we watched it together. You kick us off. Just overall thoughts on the game.
I just thought the biggest difference I thought when I was watching it, and to be honest, I've thought this the whole season watching Liverpool, is like, I think if that was Klopp, that spell that we had where City probably had, was it maybe like a 25-minute spell of when they came into the game? Was it maybe was it that long? I don't.
Second half.
Yeah, second half.
When Doku and Savino came on.
When they were kind of just like, they didn't really like. Yeah. But I think the difference this year is, we're really comfortable if we do need to sit back and defend and try and do that. Which I think under Klopp, like it probably would have just been end to end and it would have been chaos and it probably would have suited City a bit more. But I don't really think like it was comfortable for Liverpool. But I mean, if you think about it, if we scored one of those chances in the first like 15-20, went 2-0 within that time frame, I think it would have been a totally different game.
Yeah.
That's the most confident I've been going into a Liverpool City game. Obviously, with the situation City in, I mean, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I just thought it's exactly what we've done all season.
Yeah.
And I think at Anfield as well, I just don't really think they could. They were no way set up to handle that whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that you said there, this is for everyone, whoever wants to take it, you said there that Liverpool this season under Slot, we've said it a few times, there was moments you're a bit nervy, but when the game finished and you kind of relax a bit, Kelleher makes a save when Van Dijk makes the mistake. Does City really have a chance in the game?
No, there was a lot of probing in and around the box.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't really. I agree. Maybe like a little bit nervous as a Liverpool fan, but for me watching as a neutral, it didn't really feel like you're under much.
Yeah,
Doku made a bit of a difference. I think he gave Trent a tough time when he came on a bit. Like
he
gave them a different dimension. But again, all his balls, like Van Dijk was amazing.
He was good. He was back to his best day.
All his ball, he just like his positioning and sense. So like he was an absolute man mountain back there.
Yep.
I think Neville said that at one point. He was like, every time the ball goes into the box, it's Van Dijk there, and that's not luck. It's like,
and that's both boxes.
Yeah.
He should have scored. Well, it's a great save.
Mate, I had money on him first goal scorer.
Did you?
Yeah.
And my dad had him to have 2.
A fiver on.
Should have had him to have 2. Mate.
Fiver on was returning me 150 return off first goal scorer, and he hit the post when I was fucking
and he should have scored the other one.
Should have.
So I think it was actually quite comfortable. Like, it was just a lot kind of side to side, a little bit probing, but there wasn't many shots.
I know they struggled to like.
They didn't create anything.
Easy
really.
to say afterwards, but they just didn't create compared to like how good they have been over recent years. To just create literally nothing. I think, as you say, Rico Lewis had that little toe poke
Yeah.
in like the 38th minute. I think they
Yeah.
were like, that's their first shot, and it's obviously like dribbled out past the post. It wasn't exactly threatening. They were a little bit better in the second half, but I do think that's obviously down to Liverpool sitting off a wee bit, as you say.
Yeah.
But for me, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai, those like legs in midfield are just a joke.
Huge.
Like Szoboszlai's like literally the trigger for the press almost sometimes. Like he's the furthest man forward just because he looks like he could just run all day.
Yeah,
which
and
does make a difference.
You talk about legs too, like that's what City have lost. They've
Yeah.
lost the legs, and I know Rodri is a huge loss. And we had loads of chat about it the other day, and I think he's a very important player, and it's a loss, right? It's like if Liverpool lost Van Dijk, the level would
massively.
dip. But everything out, all the other dominoes are falling. Like they don't have the legs in midfield because they're losing. The confidence is going. Yeah, it's the weakest mentally. Liverpool scored the goal. What was it, about 11 minutes in or something like that, roughly? And Matthew, like me, the camera panned to the City players walking back to the centre circle.
Heads down,
And
walking
me and
back.
you looked at each other and went, they're done
fucked,
already.
yeah.
They're done. Like, they're
Yeah.
not coming back into this. No way.
I think they did make a good point on Sky Sports as well to go back to City's midfield and obviously like ridiculously good footballers. But at one point playing centre mids, they had Rico Lewis and Bernardo Silva.
Yeah.
Which, like, as I say, I'm like, especially Bernardo Silva, so good on the ball, obviously won everything. But there's surely a bit of an issue there if he's your, like, get in there and get the ball one midfielder. Although he is good at it, but when you've got a bunch of young Liverpool lads chasing him, I mean, he gave the ball away more times in his own half than I've probably ever seen him do
Yes.
yesterday.
He was rattled.
Yeah.
I was thinking this though, like I was thinking about the Rodri issue and how much of we all knew it was going to be a massive blow, a massive problem. I didn't think it'd be like this bad.
Yeah.
And then they lose Kovacic. We've seen John Stones play there in a Champions League final against Inter Milan and be like the best player in the park, like
Yeah.
in that sort of role. So those three are missing. I'm looking around the rest of the cities.
Breaking news on BBC over there.
I'm thinking, like, what does Pep actually do? Like, who would you put in? Because like the midfielders are like Gundogan, Silva, Mateus Nunes, Rico Lewis. None of them you want there. Like, Rico Lewis isn't an actual midfielder. He's good at coming in maybe
Pep
from
said-
inverted fullback.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them, they're not naturally. They don't have that like instinct that Rodri has to get second balls, to track third man runs.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the rest of the squad though. Like, who actually doesn't have anyone to do it? Eh?
Pep said that. He said he doesn't have an alternative. He's like, what do you want me to do? He's like, what am I meant to do here?
Whose
I
fault's that,
need
though?
to play Gundogan. I need to play Bernardo Silva there. He's like, I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Whose fault's that? It's one of those. It's tough because
Well,
Bring back Calvin
you're missing
Phillips.
both you're missing both your holding midfielders. I
Yeah.
mean,
yeah.
it is a bit of bad luck as well. But
It's like it's the same in a different position. Well, two different positions. But if you took Van Dijk and Salah, who are probably those two pillars for Liverpool, if you're missing one, the level dips. The problem is you can't have someone else behind him that's not too far off him because he's never playing.
Yeah.
So like you can't really sign someone else for Rodri's position. And that it was really annoying me was when they were talking about that before the game, and everyone's saying they need to go into the market in January. For what? For 2 months until he comes back. You can't go into the market and buy someone else because as soon as Rodri's back, he's back in the team.
well, you can go loan someone for the.
Could loan
the
somebody, I
season.
guess, but what level are they going to be at?
Well, you could try bringing a
Yeah.
top class holding midfielder, and then he just goes back when Rodgers.
But why? What January too? Like, why would you let Zubimendi go on loan, for example? It's just picking him out of the hat for the.
Well, it would
second
have to be
half
someone
of the
they would have to work on both ends.
Yeah, I just don't know. He's gonna have to find a solution himself. But I
It's-
think everyone can see, and he said it. The solution's not in the squad.
He needs to buy. He does 100% need to buy someone for that position that is naturally a holding player that is good on the ball, is very defensively aware of where to be for the second balls dropping, just tracking, just things that go under the radar. I
Yeah.
think Rodri's physical presence, you don't really think about it straight off the bat. But he's 6'3", he's strong as an ox. And then, like you're saying earlier on, you're replacing him with Rico Lewis, Bernardo Silva,
Yeah.
who are both like, I mean, they both must be under about 5'8". You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Of all the decisions that he made, to be fair, and like who am I to sit and criticise Pep, but Nunes out on the left, I just think it's the weirdest thing.
He's been doing that for a
He's
couple of
just
games.
never a left midfielder for me.
Yeah.
So slow. Do you not think
When
the
you
City
look how
team had no
when you
pace?
look how it
though?
changed a bit when Doku came on, you just wonder why I didn't go with that from
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
start.
I think he's been injured though. To be fair, but I was looking at it and I was like, City have no pace.
Yeah.
Or
Like they're playing. What was it? Bernardo Silva, Foden, Nunes, Haaland. Like I was
Rico
looking
Lewis.
at it.
He
And
played
I was
like
they
four
don't-
centre midfielders.
Yeah,
give or
fair.
take. Foden, you can maybe say no.
Surely
But
even if you're like a Jack Grealish,
yeah,
if you're sitting on the bench and Nunes is starting off the left before you, surely
Yeah.
you're sitting there going, "Fuck that! I'll get
Yeah.
back to Villa."
I think there's issues there
I
personally,
agree. To be
but I don't
fair.
think Jack Grealish's a good trainer. I don't think Pep. Like, I don't really think a lot of folk get away with not being a good trainer without
I don't know. You're
having
going
him, but
just on that. What do you think's going on between De Bruyne and Pep?
yeah, something's happened.
I
Something's
think
happened.
Something must
So-
have happened.
They fell out the end. Was it the end of last season? They fell out a little bit.
He looks
Williams
miles
up.
off it.
Yeah.
Miles off it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
When
think
he
he'll
comes-
get.
when he-
I
when
think
he
he'll get
comes
fat on
on.
that. He'll get fat on that soon, I reckon.
Yeah.
Like, he'll be one of those players where you'll see in a couple months, and he'll be fucking chunky at the hips, he'll have a wee belly and that.
Like the
Generally,
Brazilians all
mate.
get.
Oh, 100%, mate. He's a lazy bastard, man.
Yeah, I think so too. I think
His
they're
touch
not,
on that was awful yesterday when he came
Yeah.
on. Like he couldn't. Like it just.
It just
He's
doesn't
not
look
sharp,
fit,
mate.
does
He's
it?
not
Yeah.
sharp
they're
at
not
all.
seeing eye to eye on where each other think they're at, are they? I
Yeah.
think De Bruyne's thinking, and wrongly so, what we're saying. I think he's thinking he should still be there, and I think Pep's like, mate, you're off it.
Yeah.
You're well off it.
It's meant to be really difficult. Like, see, constantly, loads of players have like spoke about like playing under Pep. It's like the demands are ridiculous, and it's also just constantly positional play. So you don't actually have like a certain amount of freedom.
Yeah.
So the way Pep plays is like when the ball's here, you need to be here and you need to do this.
Mhm.
And supposedly with a lot of players, like it's that's why a lot of players struggle to then like it takes time for them to get into the team and understand that. But a lot of players say like doing that for a long period of time, it just gets a bit like repetitive and you don't really play with like ultimate freedom. It's just so positional and it's like this is this. But it's
E-
an interesting thought. But
Even
I
what
don't know.
you said earlier, Ali, about yourself getting injured, and we're all getting a little bit older, and it's the thought process of like having to start with the match fitness lower
Yeah.
and get yourself back into the team, and probably an element of, not to call his character, I don't mean this in like that way, but an element of De Bruyne is the hunger still there to get back to that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's been pretty open and honest, to be fair to him, and said like the Saudi money's floating about, and
Yeah.
for him that's like generational
Yeah.
wealth. I mean, he's obviously caked, but like he's literally came up before and said that's my like great grandkids sorted. So I think he will disappear, to be fair. But
Very Gerrard like
It's
with
a-
his body. His body's like, remember Gerrard towards the end was the same. It was
Slow.
like you wanted him to play, but you could see he'd lost the yard of it. You could
Yeah.
see he lost it. Very like that. Yeah, it's interesting with City. I mean, I don't know.
it's dangerous. Like
It's dangerous. Yeah.
I think there's loads of things you can look at, but it's a bit of a
Talking
slippery
about that
slope,
hunger, though, like, and you're saying, is De Bruyne hungry enough to get back in the fit? I just think the hunger in the whole team to be at the level that they've been at for the last 6-7 years is gone.
yeah,
Yes.
100%,
Just-
mate, 100%.
It's like we touched on in the text earlier on, like Haaland's having a joke with Salah after the game,
Yep.
and you rewind 7 or 8 weeks ago when they played Arsenal, and he's telling Arteta to stay humble, and he's right up for the fight.
Exactly.
And now things have like gone off the boil a bit. They're just giving up.
I don't
So they
think
can't
you
be bothered
want
with it.
you don't want them when you're in the trenches. Like I was saying that you don't want like I don't really think you want Haaland when you're in the trenches. De Bruyne, like you kind of look at these boys and like when you're winning and everything's like, and you're constantly having the ball, you don't defend much. They're absolute in dreamland.
So
Like
test your
nah,
character,
they're in
isn't it?
they're in the trenches now. Like because
Yeah.
maybe do you reckon it's a bit of an aspect like teams maybe potentially figuring them out and stuff as well. I mean, I don't.
Not really. I think. Sorry, I wrote this down. If I can get this up, it's a good thing that you said that because I remembered I wrote this just at the end. I think City, when City at their absolute best and Pep at his absolute best, his teams suffocate you, and you can't even get out your own half. And what starts to happen, I think we've all played, the belief of the other team starts to wane. And as we know, as soon as City get one in that game, well, what the other team going to do? They're going to open up and they're going to tear you to shreds. And I think it happened with Liverpool when we dipped a bit under Klopp too. Teams now start to come to you with belief that they can get something and they know they can get through you, and it makes the other team play completely differently, and all of a sudden you're having to run more and you're not in the right place, and then you're losing and your confidence goes. They're not suffocating the life out of anyone. They haven't been doing it for the last 6-7 games at all.
Even
Yeah.
yesterday, if you look at the amount of time that like Van Dijk, Gomez over to Trent, like kind of just passed it about the back, or like we'd knock it back to Kelleher, and like they never really ever tried to press him, did they? As you say, in terms of like suffocating them in the half, like they just had all the time in the world.
Too
just
low on
to-
confidence to go
yeah,
and do that
they
at
didn't
Anfield.
want
I
to go
think.
up that extra.
Bernardo
10,
Silva
15
summed it
yards.
up with Salah when that little thing happened, when he like stood over him and it was 2-0 and Salah kind of looked like he was saying to him, it's 2-0. Like that's something we've all been there where you can't get close to the other team and you're off it and you get pissed off. So you just kind of like, where can I get a wee dig in at someone here?
Liverpool
Do you
were
know what I mean?
really good though. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought they were spot on in their approach and everything. Tactically as well, like with him changing it and stuff as well, like every time it goes into the second half, I'm like, what are we going to do different here? And we always do something different, and and then the other team has to think about it. He's fucking really, really good. Like really good.
He's got
I
the
think
balance.
under Klopp, I don't really remember too much. Like we would always just come out of a 4-3-3, we'd build the same and everything, but like under Slot, it's totally different. It's really interesting. Back four is really interesting to me as well. He does with them.
Did you notice him wave Robbo over when they were getting a bit of pressure, and he just told Robbo to follow Rico Lewis for a bit?
Oh, he did.
Did
Yeah,
you
he
go
did.
back and watch it. There's times where like Gakpo almost
that.
becomes the left back because Robbo's just like ran forward with Rico Lewis into basically centre mid.
Slot said he knew that they were going to have a spell where it would be like your typical City like bombardment type thing. I mean, obviously they did have that spell. It was always going to happen.
They had it without as we said earlier, they had it without any chance being created though. It was very comfortable.
There's no runs or like penetration behind or like.
Neville said that, didn't he, on the commentary? City have got the most joy against Liverpool when they've come and Foden's playing in that pocket in between Robbo and the left winger, and he's running behind and vice versa. I mean, I wanted to go over this because
they're all a bit off the boil.
They're off the boil, right? But
none of them are on form. Confidence is
everyone's confidence is dead. It's a fucking awful place to be in. Like,
to go back to the Haaland point, because I actually thought him having like, if you want to say a laugh or not, but like, because him and Van Dijk were kind of chatting throughout the game, and sometimes I think Haaland actually just seems like a sound cunt.
Yeah.
And I honestly think sometimes you'll just be like, they got the better of me today, so I'm just going to chat about it. Where against Arsenal, I genuinely think he thinks, no, I'm better than you, so that's when I'm going to be a prick.
I think Pep said it after the game. I texted it today, and it was on Sky Sports News. He said that he basically alluded to, I knew we were going to reset after this game, as if to be like, I've counted this one out. And I thought he looked like that when the game was starting and the camera panned to him and he was sat there. And I thought, he looks like he knows what's about to happen. And his team doesn't have it in them to get through that first 15 minutes. I mean, that first 8 minutes felt like it was 20. I couldn't believe how much we created in such a short amount of time. It was fucking unreal. But like to go on to like City, because I thought this was interesting. It's quite intriguing. So since this season that they bought Haaland, right? So 22-23, they bring in Haaland, they bring in right, you would say obviously, regardless of the form, what a signing, right? Unbelievable. They brought in Calvin Phillips, hasn't really worked. Akanji has been all right for them, in fairness. I'd say he's fine. He's started sometimes. He's a good player to have around. They brought in that Sergio Gomez, and they also got Julian Alvarez in that season. In 22-23, they let go. This is the year they let go of Sterling, Jesus, and Zinchenko. João Cancelo also falls out with Pep. Fernandinho finishes, right? So, okay, if you go into 23-24, so that's last season, eh? Yeah. They bring in Garvadal, they bring in Nunez, they bring in Doku, they bring in Kovacic. They let go of Cole Palmer, Mahrez, Laporte. Calvin Phillips goes on loan to West Ham. Gundogan goes to Barca. Mendy has his problems, and then Cancelo goes on loan to Barca. This year they brought in Savinho, who looks okay. I think there's definitely a player there. They brought Gundogan back. They've let go of Alvarez and Calvin Phillips. I don't know. Their business hasn't been amazing.
I looked at this when you first sent it, and the first thing I noticed, especially this season, there's got to be something about the financial fair play situation, because I think I looked at that and they've sold best part of 140 million euros worth of player and brought in Savinho for 25 million.
Yeah.
So the elephant in the room is obviously they must be trying to just play it a little bit safer with what's going on
until it's over.
What if Haaland gets injured? Who plays?
Nobody.
That's a great question.
Who does play?
They obviously let go of Julian Alvarez. I thought they were going to replace. Obviously, to bring in someone that obviously play second fiddle, but they've not either. If Haaland gets injured, Jenny, who plays as a 9 for them? Who plays on the middle?
No one.
Foden. They play Foden there.
Change your system, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to completely just play like with a false 9.
Yeah.
Imagine that happens, man.
It's interesting. I think it's really, like I say, we're not trying to come in here and kick Pep and City when they're down, but it's interesting because City haven't ever done this, and Pep has never had this at all. Like, you can see he never won the Champions League at Bayern Munich and all that stuff, and he just won one with City, so it's hard to win that. But he's never been in this situation where he does really look like he needs to get things back on track. Like, they lose games, of course they do, but it's never been this bad. So it's going to be intriguing to see how he handles it.
Oh yeah, it looks like he's ran out of ideas.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like completely done. He just doesn't know what to do anymore.
Yep.
He must fancy going again though, because he just signed another
I know.
deal, right? So
That's interesting,
was he
eh?
2027? No,
I
was it
thought that
2026?
would be I kept telling them my fantasy team because I thought that was going to be the bounce to get them back going again, and that's not kicked them off either, has it? It's not kicked them off at all.
It's just the way that they're losing games, right, and they're conceding lots of goals, which has been well documented with how like vulnerable they are now.
Yes.
But they don't create anything anymore. They're not really bossing games at all. Like Liverpool absolutely battered them, and then they didn't score against Spurs. They're scoring maybe the odd goal. And the other game against Spurs was 2-1. Apart from the Feyenoord game when they scored 3,
Yes.
they've not scored any goals either. They're not controlling games. They're not moving the ball quick. They're all
Gary-
over the place.
Gary Neville made a good point on his podcast about that Feyenoord game in particular of like Spurs came and fair enough, did you? But that can happen, like whatever. But being 3-0 up at home against like, no disrespect to like the Dutch league or whatnot, but probably weaker opposition, they'll be sitting in there at half time thinking like, right, we just coast this one out, 3-0 onto Liverpool, and then like fucking hell, we've drawn 3-3,
That's
and
the
now
killer.
we've got to go to Anfield. Like Neville did say that, he was like, that one hurts
More.
potentially more.
Because even in the times they've been amazing, they've lost to Spurs who are a bogey team, and you can come to Anfield and get beat.
Yeah.
And as I sent that stat twice.
Not like
in
that,
a day. Not like that. Not like that. Fair enough. But they've only won at Anfield once, and that was when there was no fans in COVID,
Yeah.
since 2000
And Alisson decided to like pass forward.
Yeah, so like you could lose those games, but I agree with Greg. When they conceded one against Feyenoord, I watched it. You could tell they were going to concede the other two. You could see it coming. You could see Pep obviously scratch his face and that. You could see he knew it. Like they don't have the steel about them, do they? They don't. He knows this group doesn't have the dig in them to get themselves like out of it. And I think that's been a big thing. Because let's talk a little bit about Liverpool. Ali, we'll come to you because you're more of a neutral on it. But we talked about Van Dijk. I don't know if you guys seen Carragher's tweet that everyone was going on about, but I'll read it out. So Carragher tweeted yesterday, Virgil van Dijk performance today was unbelievable. I know he made a mistake at the end. He made Erling Haaland look like Alfie Inge Haaland. Is that his dad? I don't even know who that is. The best striker versus the best centre-back should be a great battle, but it's so easy for him. He's the best centre-back we've ever seen in the Premier League. I know the replies will scream Liverpool bias. Or compare trophies to others, but that's all nonsense. I always said it was John Terry before Van Dijk came along, and he played for one of my biggest rivals in Chelsea. Trophies depend on your team or money or timing. All great defenders of the past had attackers who caused them problems, but who's ever really caused Van Dijk any? He's just played against Mbappe and Haaland in the last 4 days, and played them with such ease he could have played with a cigar. Please stop this silly debate about the best centre-back. It's not even close.
Yeah. It's weird because see, like last year, or maybe not last year. When did they go right off the boil?
It was after his ACL.
Yeah, so just at the year after COVID.
And then we got all those injuries as well.
Yeah.
Though. And
Well,
He
Yeah.
did have a couple of years when I thought he
did.
looks a bit done.
21-22, he was ACL, COVID, and then the following year he was.
But yeah,
so-
how he's playing this season is unbelievable. Like
Yeah.
back at his best. Yeah, you can't argue with what Carragher's saying, can you?
No, I don't think so.
Not from the defenders that we've seen in our lifetime. Like John Terry probably is the one that sticks out.
Yeah.
Rio Ferdinand as well, but
Vidic. I think it's always tough as well because it's like different times in terms of. I certainly don't think like Vidic or Terry could go and do what Van Dijk does now.
No.
But could you necessarily? You maybe could, but could you get Virgil to go and do what they did back then? Like you never know, right? Like coming up against like I know Haaland's a big boy and rapid, but coming up against your Drogba's and that every week would have been a different challenge.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with
yeah, right though. He does play like every game. It looks like he's in second gear.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't sprint. It looks like he's not sprinting.
He reads it well, eh?
I'll tell you who did cause him problems.
Yeah.
It's that big boy up top for Southampton.
Yeah, he
Did you
did that.
see the size of him?
He was good, man. He was good.
Someone
He
get
thought
his what's his background?
I'll try. I'll get him up, mate. I'll get
Get
him
his Wikipedia up,
up from last Saturday
mate.
or
Like,
Sunday it was.
did anyone know like that he played for Southampton? Like that?
No, here,
No,
George,
I thought we were going to play
I've
with
got it
Adam
here, I've
Armstrong
got
up
it
there
here.
against M2, and I'm sitting here with my hands.
Paul
First 5 minutes, I was
Onuachu?
like,
Is that how I would say it? Onuachu? Sorry if I'm
where'd they
pronouncing
get
that.
him from?
He's 30 years old.
Is he?
From Nigeria.
Uh-huh.
They got him from they got him from Trabzonspor in 2023. He's played 6 games and scored 0 goals, got 0 assists. But he did cause problems.
Doesn't
that I
matter,
heard of.
mate.
Yeah.
bullied the best centre half ever.
Really,
What a
yeah,
What a career that is, man.
I don't think anyone's seen that coming from Southampton, and that's what you've got to try. I think you've got to try and do that. But this Liverpool team has got.
Well,
They had it under Klopp too. The best teams are able to adapt to the game in the game, and you
Where's-
have your game plan, but you adapt to the game.
we're so hard to play against though because we're fucking like physical.
I was gonna say
We're
that.
also we've got everything, man. Like we must be so hard to play against. Because even if you look, even look what Leverkusen done with sticking Boniface out on the left wing when
Yeah.
they played with no striker. And when they were building, they put Boniface. They tried to stick him on Trent
They did.
because they were
Slot was
literally like, we
unexpected at
cannot go. I mean, obviously when Konate's playing, imagine being a centre forward and thinking I'm up against Van Dijk and Konate today.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you think the
let
size
me get out
thing's
of my bed though.
the size thing's interesting? It looked like no one was close to Van Dijk's height whatsoever on that pitch yesterday. Every time City had we had a corner, I'm like, who the fuck is? And I'm like, I'd put Diaz on him. I'd feel like I would just go old. I'm quite old school with that stuff. See, if I coached, even at that level, I'd be like, who's their best header? Van Dijk. Who's my best header? Let's say Diaz, if he is. I'm just fucking marking him.
Here, who was marking him again? Because there was one point I remember thinking,
Walker?
why is he marking him?
Kyle
Was it
Walker
Walker?
was at one point.
There was
yeah.
someone else. Like they had a couple of things, but how it was at Craig's when we were watching the Arsenal game before the Cayley too, and all the boys were like, "Look how big Calafiori is," and like Gabriel and Saliba, like height and size. We're talking about missing Rodri. It's so important now in football, isn't it?
Yeah.
It probably always
Well,
has been.
It's not. It's just the
Souness
fact-
was probably
set pieces are huge, man.
Souness, for
Set
example.
pieces is the difference, or probably
Yeah.
potential. Well, it could be the difference in terms of like winning
But
the
just
league
your-
and title, and that's huge.
Your athleticism. Like if I play against Ali, look at the size difference. Like there's no way I compete against Ali. So like if you're a big, strong athlete
yeah,
at
but
that
you don't
level,
need to be big though.
you don't need to be big. But I'm saying if you look at Arteta's gone big on big boys in height. He's gone big on that. Pep has definitely gone a bit bigger on that in recent years with the team that he's playing with. Liverpool are fucking huge, mate. Trent's not small. Trent's 6-something. Nunez.
So Bosley's a big boy.
Sabozlai's a big boy. Gravenberch. Like, everyone's massive.
Aye.
There's not a lot of
Yeah, I
small
don't-
guys. Like, we always say Elliot's great. He struggles because he's smaller.
Mm.
He does struggle because he's smaller. That is the thing, unfortunately. If you're smaller, you have to be quicker in your head because you can't. There's no way Elliot, or maybe he's probably sure he's jacked, but like Elliot against Rodri is going to be a tough physical battle. He's just not going to win that. He isn't going to win
Everyone
that.
always says the levels as you go up, as
Yeah.
you're playing. Obviously, the
The size of them would be massive.
physicality and the pace of it is quicker.
But I think also always makes everyone that he plays with amazing. Eh?
Oh mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it elevates Konate's game.
Yeah.
Joe Gomez was amazing.
He
Yep.
was a good
I thought
player.
that as well. Joe Gomez has a ping on him.
Yeah.
Carragher spoke about that before the game, to be fair. If you look at like Matip, Gomez, Konate, like the ones that have played in there with him, like it must be so nice knowing, even though I do make a little bit of a mistake, like Virgil will probably get there
Is
for
there?
me.
I actually only think the reason that he actually made that mistake with De Bruyne was because the game was that easy for him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Just a little bit of lack of
Switched off.
concentration.
Yeah,
being
100%.
clever.
You could tell,
And he just got it nicked off him. But see if
I
that was
agree.
a close game, he wouldn't have done that.
Yeah,
Nah,
I agree.
I agree with that, mate. Do you think maybe just wrapping up on this game and we can talk about the other things? It's interesting to see where City and Pep go from here. He's not been in this situation. I mean, they play Forest at home on Wednesday night. It's not easy. That's not an easy one. Forest have been all right this season, and they'll frustrate them too. And if we're saying they're blunt, Forest will be happy to have Nuno sit 5 behind the ball.
Yeah.
And it'll be hard to break them down, and Forest will get belief out of them. So that'll be interesting. See how Slot handles this now. It's the Christmas period. You've got the games coming thick and fast. Liverpool are away at Newcastle, away at Everton. Last ever derby at Goodison. Got to remember, Arsenal and Chelsea are only 9. You say it's 11, but it's 9. Everyone keeps saying 11. It's 9. It's a new challenge for Slot now and the Liverpool team to not let the door open for Arsenal and Chelsea. Now you don't let the door open. You've got a bit of wiggle room to maybe draw a game here or there, but you
You'll-
don't let the door open.
You obviously don't. You obviously it's far too early to say Liverpool are going to win the league or
Yeah.
the league's done, but they just don't look like they're going to lose. And
I
the
know.
fact that they need to lose like 4 games, and that's relying on like City, Arsenal,
Not
and
to
Chelsea
then
winning
lose.
every single one. It's just not happening. Like
Like,
you just can't
They
see
could
Liverpool
get an
doing
injury.
that.
Yeah.
Injury crisis would fuck
That'd
us.
be
Well,
the
he
only
said-
way.
Injury
That'd be the
crisis
only way.
would
Slot
fuck
said,
us,
I
like-
watched the press conference after the game, and he said, the only thing is now the games are thick and fast, and I've only got 5 defenders to pick from. I've only got an option to rotate one, which is Kwanzaa.
By the way, the thing that I think Slot's done amazing though, and I think he's looked at and seen all those injuries that we had under Klopp and stuff, he's managed that, I think, like really, really good.
Yeah.
And I think they've probably sat down and looked at the data and been like, and looked at the injury list and stuff like that, and they've obviously then focused on that and been like, I think he's. I remember him saying, because by the way, under Klopp, like it used to be the same 11 all the time.
Yeah.
Used to be the same 11 like Thursday, Sunday. Like it was literally constant. He's 100% used the squad and kept everyone happy, like really, really well. Like left back situation, Curtis Jones and Szoboszlai, Nunes, Jota were rotating, Diaz, Gakpo have been rotating.
Yeah.
Like he's
Gravenberg's
totally
gotta
used
be
the
a little
squad
bit of a
there.
worry.
Yeah.
Because he plays. Gravenberg actually basically plays 90,
And-
and also probably didn't play like competitive football for a year and a half.
I'm still a little concerned in there. I think.
Yeah,
'Cause
so
I
am I,
think if you
because-
lose Gravenberg, we then go to not having we then don't have a holding midfielder.
It's the same as City. The team changes.
I don't think.
McAllister can play there, but it's not the same as Gravenberch playing there.
I still don't see him as
Yeah.
like a proper holding midfielder
Neither
anyway.
do I.
But
Neither do
I don't see him as like that kind of midfielder. But if we do it, he's then probably gonna go Curtis Jones, McAllister, Szoboszlai. Like that's a big difference. It's still pretty lightweight. I think that for playing week in week out in the Premier League. So there's still injuries in that could
Yeah, it's
fuck
not
us
over.
massively.
And I
Yeah,
think,
exactly.
Ali, you were saying obviously they maybe need to lose about 4 games, but to be honest, I think if Arsenal / Chelsea, who are on the same point as Arsenal, we'll talk a little bit about Chelsea. I think you just need to pull it back to their 9. I think if they can pull it back to 5, I'm feeling I'm still in that against that Liverpool. I'm feeling because they all of a sudden they draw and you win down to 2, 3. What is that now? My maths is awful.
So we still need
If it's 5 and you draw whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
Terrible at maths, but all of a sudden I think if you can pull it back down to 5, it's possible. And this is a big week. Arsenal could pull that gap back to 5 or 6 if Liverpool struggle at St James's. Newcastle have been horrendous, and it's the last derby at Goodison, mate. And Sean Dyche is just horrific to play against.
To be fair,
Even
very
United
quickly,
4-0.
Arsenal and United on Wednesday night could be a good game.
Should be a
Hammering
good
in.
game.
see
Yeah.
no Martinez and no Mane
Mainly.
Oh really?
suspended. Yeah, it's huge.
That's huge.
Absolutely huge for them,
Let's-
especially Martinez.
Let's move off of that stuff
Ideal
then
for
and on
that.
to those other teams. Has anyone got anything else they want to say on it? Are we good with it? Covered everything. We covered a
all
lot.
good.
We covered a lot.
Yeah,
Let's
flying.
go on then. Let's talk a little bit. Let's go Arsenal and Chelsea next because they're tied on points. I think we've talked a lot about Arsenal. We'll start with them because I think we can maybe move them a bit quicker. Talking about Rodri missing, Odegaard's come back in and they look like a fucking different team. I mean, I think I said to you guys, Greg and Ali, I don't know Matthew, we said it, but I watched them against Sporting and he was just little one-touch flicks around the corner and just one-touch knocking it off to people, and all of a sudden they've broken a line of press and they missed him because it was Rice and Marino and it was a bit defensive-y, wasn't it? And it was a bit just dog ourselves out. And
It's just simple balls. Like, see the
Yeah.
West Ham game, the second goal when he plays that sort of like dink through ball to Saka and he
Yeah.
squares it across to Trossard.
Yeah.
That looks so easy, but that's like second nature to Odegaard. But
Yeah.
like the other players that come in, they can't do it, and that's what they were missing for a wee while.
Yeah, he's pretty key to all. He's pretty key to a
Proper
lot of the
unlock
things they
Saka
do.
as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's aye. Odegaard's like a proper 10-man.
yeah.
Just drifts out the game and just constantly receives it. And he's always forward and creative. He's class to watch.
Do you think that, like, we're talking, because that shows it's massive, and I think we've said that Liverpool dropped off and you lost Van Dijk. It's amazing how important one person can be to a team,
Oh, yeah.
and the level can dip. And you always talk about you've got a whole unit and you've got this squad and you've got all the money, but one guy whoever your guy is out. Your team's level dropped massively. I even remember that coaching the kids of like one of the better kids couldn't be there that Saturday because he had like an American football practice or violin or something that they chose to go over because they were balancing it, but he was the best kid in the team. You came into the game and you knew that the game was going to not be as easy. And it was maybe a team that was all right in the league and you were like, this is going to be hard, but if I had him, he'll make it 3-0 in 10 minutes and I can sit on the bench and not do anything. So
thought you
it's
were
just
gonna say
interesting.
Can we
What's
just
that?
confirm that you've compared Odegaard to a kid that plays violin in
Yes.
California?
Yes, and the orange team at the Ant Force. Indeed. But it's amazing how important one team is. But Arsenal look like they've been clicking again. What's everyone's thoughts on Chelsea? Because watch them against Villa, and Villa are struggling a wee bit, but they're way more consistent and dominant than they have been
To be
in a while.
I was speaking
Great
with
job, man.
Ozzy Callum on Friday. He's obviously
Oh,
a
yeah.
Chelsea fan, and I was talking to him about them. And one thing that I think has clicked for Chelsea is that some of their signings that I'll be honest, when they first brought in, I was like, he's a donkey, he's a donkey. Your Jacksons, is it Madwaku or however you say
Yeah.
his name? I'm looking at them now and I'm thinking, fucking hell, he's good. Casado obviously went there last year, struggled a bit, now looks really, really good. Was Lavia injured for a large
injured
part
Yeah,
last year or something?
yeah, he was.
So
yeah.
now he looks really, really good. And all of a sudden, all these signings that they made in it, I think everyone was kind of like, nah, he's not worked. You actually start looking at me and think, bloody hell, quite a lot of them look to be working. And to be fair to Maresca as well, he's got them playing a little bit.
He does.
He's done a great job, man.
Yeah, so they do look quite good. On a good little spell.
How much
Same.
of that do we think is down to? I think they're all probably good players, as Greg said. How much is down to? I put a lot down to that to Maresca, to be honest.
Oh, mate,
I think he's a good manager.
100%, mate.
I think
He's a good man. He needs to get 100%.
also, to be fair, I think Maresca's came in and he's got all these players to pick from, and don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure he's basically like, that's my best team. They're playing every game.
Yeah,
you can tell
as you
he's-
said about 11 on the clock. That's
Yeah,
my
exactly.
11.
Well,
Yeah.
Maresca's done the same. You can tell that he's stuck. He's like, I need this 11 because, mate, what he's trying to do as well takes time.
Mhm.
It takes time to implement, and when he's chopping and changing, that was issues Chelsea's. That was the issue under the other managers as well. That you didn't know who was playing each week. But you can tell he's got his 10 or 11.
You know what I think
And he's
helps
just
him in a
sticking
way
with
is the Conference League, because
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's
100%.
able to play a completely different 11, which still kind of keeps them happy.
Yeah,
Correct.
So the harmony in the squad is decent. It also gives them a chance to play into the main team on the Saturday.
Yeah.
So sometimes they will rotate, like Felix.
Yes.
Neto.
Yeah.
Yes.
Enzo Fernandez has come into a bit of a game again recently,
Yeah.
so he's back in. And they're going to pump everyone in that Conference League. It's almost like a free hit for these
Yeah.
guys because they're so much better than them.
I agree.
So I think it's like, in a weird way, it's like benefited the whole squad harmony, and it gives like the kind of squad players a good chance to get, like in Cuckoo for instance,
Yeah.
like he's gone from being a regular Champions League player to just playing Conference League. He doesn't get a
Yeah.
stiff in the league, but he must be okay with that.
Mm.
Yeah, he's
Good
just.
bank
I think he's just come in and gone. These are my guys who I feel this is it, and I think, and very similar to, which we'll get on to. I think Amorim at United. I think he's come in and gone. These are my guys. This is the way I'm doing it. If you don't like it, like Ben Chilwell and that, like, well, fucking tough shit. Like, you're not in my team, and I'm not. I think you're right, Matthew, and I think Poch started to get a little something, but it was almost as if, like, he was trying to just keep everybody happy rather than, well, do you know what? No, it's a big boys game, and I don't think that you're my right winger. I don't think whatever it might be, and he's just seems to. The way I like his, I think I've said this before on this. I don't know if I have, but he looks like he's gonna batter the reporter when the reporter's asking him. But he just looks. I've worked like, is he Italian? Is he Maresca?
Yeah.
But just working like seeing some of those foreign coaches before, like Argentinians, and it's not the same nationality, but just something about them. Like they have a certain mentality to them, and they come across in a certain way. And he just looks like he comes across and thinks like, I'm doing it my way, and that's it.
I bet his training sessions are shit hot. You
Yeah.
can tell.
Under
I bet
Pep
they're
too, another Pep
unbelievable.
disciple. Another Pep disciple. Do we think that do we think there's any way that City would finish below those two? Did Chelsea keep it up enough to finish above a City, or what?
Chelsea finished second.
You think they'll finish above Arsenal?
Yeah.
Well, do you think? Sorry, maybe not above Arsenal. You think Liverpool win the league and Chelsea come second?
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
I think Arsenal still run Liverpool close. Like
I do
So
too.
do
I think
I.
Arsenal are the second. I think it's Arsenal and Liverpool 1 and 2, whatever way around it ends up being.
I think Arsenal end up going on like a, I don't know, 6, 7, 8
Yeah.
wins in a row kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think.
I don't think Chelsea.
I don't know why, but I
Chelsea
still
have
can't
that.
really take Chelsea serious enough for like
Mhm.
that sort of
Mm.
Yeah.
title contender. Even though they're being really consistent, it's just. I'm
And then
not
I
sure.
think like so hard to say what City are going to do because
Yeah.
I don't think Pep knows at the moment. really,
Chelsea are
so-
young as well. They're young, eh? So
Yeah.
like, there's going to be those inconsistencies in games. And I obviously was making jokes about Palmer hanging out with like Central C and being in his music video and that, but he dipped a little bit for a couple of games and got an assist and a goal last night, so he's back
was
in.
chewing my lugs off in the living room. Like Palmer, like played like a bad pass, and he was like, "Oh, I fucking told you, he's been hanging out with fucking Central C." I was like,
No, I
"What
just-
the fuck are you
I
on
think-
about?"
I think he's still class.
No,
I
what
still
are you
think
on
it's-
about?
I think it's class, but I think there's a thing when you hit that level and everyone now is looking at you and what you're doing, and you're allowed to go do what you want. You can go hang out with Central C, but then you've got to bring it on the pitch. And for me, for the last 4 games before this, he's not been bringing it on the pitch, and it was just
He's gonna.
interesting. to see.
He's not gonna score a hat trick every game.
I know
mate.
that, but I was watching his games and he wasn't
Fucking high
in
standards.
the game.
Right?
It wasn't in the game. That's all I'm saying. It was interesting.
Palmer,
to see.
Palmer a lot with the type of player that he is.
Yeah.
Palmer would just pop up in moments. And
Sure,
like,
absolutely.
And like win
He
the
did it
game,
yesterday.
but potentially be shit all game.
Yeah.
But like whip it in like the 90th minute.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's
it
why he's
wasn't
like he's
even-
not gonna like get. He doesn't like. He won't like control the game.
Yeah.
Like he'll just create like 1 or 2 unbelievable chances, or he'll score an absolute worldie. Like he's you create big. That's kind of how he edge spaces
Yeah.
of football. I think anyway how I see it. But
I agree with you. I'm just saying I don't think he popped up until yesterday, and it was getting to be about 4 or 5 games, and I thought, and everyone has a dip in form. That's fine. I just thought interesting to see, but he scored an assist yesterday, so he's back.
yeah, I
but-
think that's normal. It's also kind of his first proper run at actually fully consistently playing at this level as well. It's his first
Needs
time
to get
doing
the
it.
fuck out of Pedro Neto's way, man, when Neto's off that right-hand side, mate. Even that, I seen Neto shouting at him. Like, that's another thing about Maresca, I said to Matthew. He's making the same subs. Like, Neto starts on the right, and then Madueke comes on, and Neto just moves over to the left. And Sancho typically comes off at the moment because he's not the fittest. Like, he's just doing the same subs. He's got his team. It's all clicking. Everyone kind of knows where they're at. It's interesting. Go on,
If Jackson gets injured, it'll be interesting though as well.
Yeah, because in Kunku we were saying it's maybe not. Maybe be his moment to play down there.
You think he'll play in Cuckoo there if Jackson gets injured?
Trying to think who else he would play. Yeah, I think it would be.
They've got that boy
We've got
from
the young-
Barca.
we've got the
that's
young
been
lad.
playing.
I think
Can't
it would be
remember his
Kunku.
He's like
Play
12,
Champions League.
Mark
and
Gay
that,
or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Gay.
yeah. What about Amarin then, Ali? Obviously, you beat Everton 4-0 yesterday. Everton are poor, but I thought scoring 4 goals was really big for you.
Yeah,
That's what United have struggled to be recently. You've been blunt, eh?
Everton actually were the better team for the first half hour.
Were they? Okay.
And United scored probably against the run of play,
Mm.
and that just changed the game.
Interesting.
Second half, they came out of the blocks flying. Rashford scored within about 30 seconds of kickoff in the second half.
Yeah.
And that's just Dyche's plan out the window again. So
Yep.
they just scored. That was a game about scoring goals at the right time, and the game just flips. Like the momentum of the game just changes. So they didn't actually. It wasn't a 4-0 game, to be fair.
Right. Okay.
Aye, like Everton probably could have scored. They could have been 1-0 up, and then you just never know what United would have done. But I mean, the comeback against Bodo, that win against Everton, it's a good start. We'll see how they are against Arsenal on Wednesday.
Do you see anything like? What do you think? Is there anything different he's doing? Because I'll be honest, I watched against Ipswich. I didn't watch it yesterday. I've seen the highlights, and obviously I didn't see it on Thursday. So, is there anything you've seen that he's doing differently, or has he just brought energy back, or has he not done anything differently? I don't know.
Aye, the obvious one's obviously the shape. The formation is different.
Mhm.
Playing the 3 central defenders and wing backs. But yeah, the energy and pressure, you can tell.
Yep.
They are pressing as a team, and they're pressing the goalies, pressing the defence. It's a lot more noticeable.
You need that in that way to be a top team at the moment. You probably always have needed that, but you need it in that way to press high.
What's your thoughts on him coming in and being like, I'm playing a 3-4-3 and like, I can die on it. Like I'm.
To be
back
fair,
set.
he changed it up against Bodo. So they were 2-1 down at half time playing that 3-4-3. And the second half they came out back to a 4-2-3-1.
Oh really?
And that's how they won the game. So
Interesting.
he compromised then, and obviously it worked. It showed his tactical skills to see that through a game. But yeah, it's good signs so far. Like there's a feel good factor about the place again. I like the way he speaks and how he presents himself, and he's very honest, and like even he said after the game on Saturday, like that was never a 4-0 game. There's still plenty to do. They were just scratching the surface of what I want to do.
He's saying all the right things, but not in like a cliche way. Like it seems like he's saying, same as you would say, like Slot's coming in and been his old man. Amarin looks like he's coming in to be his old man. Yeah, unfortunately, I quite like it. I mean, from this point of view, not from a Liverpool fan point of view. But yeah, it's interesting because he's not, like you said, I like the fact you're saying he's maybe compromising something a little bit there, because
he's still heavily experimenting with everyone as well. Like
he's got a free hit really this season, doesn't he? He's got a free hit to the end of the season.
He's still got boys injured in that, or is he?
That Euro should be back on Wednesday.
Because you finished, was it the Bordeaux game that you finished with Casemiro as the middle centre back, Malzari on one side and Luke Shaw on the other side? I don't like. Do you think he wants to do that, or do you think he's just doing that because?
I actually think he's just seen everyone in every position.
Really?
And he's sort of using this first wee spell as a free hit. Games against Bodo at home, Everton at home, he's probably thinking I might be able to get away with it with kind of like rotating a bit.
Do you have like? I look at it though and I'm like, I think he maybe still needs a transfer window or two, because like,
of course.
does he? Do you have any wing? Do you have like proper wing backs like in for that suit that formation?
Diallo looks alright so far.
Dell does
Yeah,
look
he's
alright
obviously
so
the one
far.
that's been like. I mean, you wouldn't really think he'd be a wing back, would you? But
It's weird that he's going with that sort of Dallo on the left and Diallo on the right as like
Yeah.
inverted wing backs. You kind of imagine it as the guys going down the line, eh?
yeah.
Mhm.
Like Dallo and Shaw maybe would be more natural
The
to do
Sporting
that.
team was the left-footed wing back. I forgot fucking his name, but he was like athletic as fuck and was like left-footed and was like down the line constantly.
Yeah.
Right. His right wing back at Sporting was the same, though, like super athletic,
Mm.
right-footed, left-footed, obviously wing backs, and they were just like obviously come inside, but they would they would go. So that's why I'm like, I don't really look at Man U and like see it. You don't really have any fullbacks that are like, you know what I mean, that are like that. So
Probably where you
Oh.
invest then if that's an important part
I
of the
agree.
system.
I think they need to invest in a couple of wing backs for that system.
Definitely.
Yeah, they don't. I don't think they do have enough. I don't think they do have the players right now to completely play
So,
that
yeah.
system. Like I think he's experimenting with Luke Shaw as the left centre half as well.
yeah,
But then that's probably where you want Martinez to play.
If he's
He's
coming
class,
in,
man.
if he's coming in with the energy that I feel like he's got, every single one of the players are playing to be there next season and moving forwards, because we're at a point now where at some point United have got to back a guy and say, right, and he's not going to do this because I think Bruno's going to be his guy because Bruno's the best player. But let's say, for example, he turned around and said, look, I don't want Bruno Fernandes. Kind of like Maresco's done at Chelsea. I don't want Bruno. Well, who you back in there? Like, he's your captain and stuff. I know he's not going to do that, but I think those guys, every single one of them is playing to stay there because I think he's going to turn to the board. And he said it in his interview, and he said, I have final say on that. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure they'll give him suggestions, but he could turn around quite quickly and say, I don't want him, and him. Get rid of them. And I know that's easier said than done because of the wages
Yeah.
they're on, but yeah.
I think there will be a few.
I think there'll be
he's
quite a few.
I think there needs.
analysing
I think
analysing it all just now, but I think in summer, I don't know what his January's going to play out. I don't know how that's going to pan out, but I think in summer he'll definitely have a bit of a.
I text you
an
the other
overhaul.
day, I think there's like a solid 6 or 7 names over the whole squad
Yeah.
that he'll definitely be like,
Binning.
yeah, like especially with the wages
Yeah.
they're on. I know it's not easy, but like, I know it's an easy call out, but like Harry Maguire, I know I said to you like Luke Shaw for me is like down that route of too many injuries. If he's going to play where Martinez is going to play anyway,
Yeah.
do you want him there on his
Yeah.
like wages and whatnot?
Yeah.
Obviously, Anthony's like a no-brainer out. There's probably quite a
It's a
few
weird,
there.
it's a weird mix of a squad, eh?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like we've
I always
always
said they recruited in the wrong areas. Like
Yeah, they
there's
did.
We
wrong
always speak about
players in
this.
the wrong areas.
like Mason Mount. Fair enough, decent football, obviously,
Yeah.
but he plays the same position as your captain, your
Yeah.
best player.
Seeing
Mount
Ten
would be
Hag, seeing Ten Hag's system, I agree, but in this system, I can actually see Mason Mount playing a lot more because
Yeah.
he does play sort of like those 2 10s.
Yeah.
And actually, in the Bodo game, he experimented with Bruno as a 6,
Yeah,
Right.
and because he said he likes Bruno deeper, playing the forward passes because he's the only one in the team that can do it.
yeah.
Fair.
And then that would allow Mount to play that position and get the best of the both of them.
Yeah.
But
I only watched that when you were losing. Turned it back off.
Turned it
and
off,
3-2.
so we'll see how it goes.
See how it goes. They're only 4 points off of the next team I wanted to quickly talk about is Brighton, who are in fourth, mate. You're 4 points off of Man City. I mean, it's the table's unbelievably tight. If you go Arsenal and Chelsea second and third, 25, Brighton fourth, 23, City fifth, 23, Forest then on 22, Tottenham 20, Brentford 20. Fuck have they come from up there? Man United 19, Fulham 19, Newcastle 19, Villa 19, Bournemouth 18. So like. It's so tight.
It's
I
good
think
level, like.
I want to shout Brighton out because obviously they've got Hertzler in, who's our age, well, mine, Greg, and Ali's age, and Brighton have
That's
just
mental,
been,
eh?
mate.
Yeah.
Brighton have
That is
just,
fucking insane, by the way.
I didn't see it this season. I think I actually said in that first
Yeah.
podcast that I had them down at the bottom.
a bit of a dip, mate.
Kind of like 14, 15.
Yeah, well, mate.
new manager and that.
How is it your agent done that, by the way? That's ridiculous. That's
Impressive.
fucking scary. Like,
Do you think how much of that do you think is to do with how well the club's like been ran and their recruitment? They're getting everything right, aren't they at the moment? Yeah.
It must
Yeah.
be something to do with like, not to go back to like Liverpool obviously, but Klopp obviously left a very good squad,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe De Zerbi's not had enough credit for doing similar.
Yeah.
And then
totally.
like, not anyone, but someone with a little bit about them can come in and carry that on.
I listened to a Brighton fan on a podcast and he said an interesting thing. It's like Brighton have learnt from the first season after having Europe of what you need to try and build when you're in Europe to not dip in the league. And it's almost like this season they've gone and they've assembled the team, probably knowing they'll lose maybe 1 or 2, but for the most part they've almost assembled the team ready for next season if they can get themselves into Europe so they can keep that balance. Like the squad's deep for their level. Like the squad is good.
yeah.
I like them. I like watching them play. They've got their style and identity that it's not too dissimilar from De Zerbi's, really, to be honest. They've been really good. I'll be intrigued to see if they can maybe be a Villa this season, who have dipped off as well. They've struggled with that. It's a weird thing that, teams that get into Europe then struggle. I'd say...
How's that weird, mate?
Villa were doing alright to start with as well.
Well, I mean,
It's
that's...
just the last kind of 4 or 5 weeks of
Miles,
proper
it's
falling
not-
off the cliff.
In that form table that I sent the other day, they're they've only got picked up 1 point from last 4.
Yeah, because I think if you could expand this into, let's expand it into Scotland. I think there was a good one on that William Hill podcast to do, and it was Boyd and Strachan and Levine, and they said that like Hearts have been punished recently. Naismith has been punished for other reasons too. You've still got to deal with it, but punished almost for making Europe, because then Hearts don't have the squad to keep going.
Yeah, 100%.
Your form dips in the league, fans get unhappy, and then you get sacked. Aberdeen, I think, were similar a few years ago. Now they've started to bounce themselves back up. Villa this season, it's mental how hard it is to be able to balance the both in your first season.
I think it's just the level of opposition, because they managed it when they were in the Conference League, and that was playing on Thursdays. Now they can't manage it when they're playing on Tuesday and
Villa, you
Wednesdays. Yeah,
I think it's the
I think
level.
it's just the
of
level of
teams.
opposition, the intensity that they actually have to go and play their strongest team.
Every week, and then those guys are not used to the twice a week, because I would say the Prem, you've got to run and run and run in the Prem. We've talked about that. It's probably quite, there's a lot of, I don't know, this is absolutely off the top of my head, but it's probably a league where the intensity is quite high week in, week out. I think Slots mentioned that a lot about the Dutch league. He said really bar like the teams that you know, the top 2 or 3, it's very rare that like the team 10 in the Dutch league will beat the teams that are first and second. Like, it just doesn't happen. So the league's really strong, so it's interesting that they can't handle that twice a week. But what do you think that is? Like, is Ollie Watkins just not, like, let's just take him for example in Villa. Are they just not used to it? Or just take Hearts. You watch a lot of Hearts, Matthew. I know you do. What do you think that is?
That's just mid.
It must be fatigue.
Yeah, 100%. It's like you have to remember at that level as well, the preparation that goes into the recovery and everything with it. So you can try and hit your peak performances and you feel amazing.
Mentally
like,
as well.
Massively, mate.
Like, just even like
more time away from your family. It's more. It's more everything. It's also less preparation for you to prepare. It's also probably realistically, it's actually 2 days less on the training ground, because you've got the game that you play, and then it's also the day after you can't train because everyone's recovering. So it's also 2 days less of preparation in terms of tactics and stuff on the training ground.
And there's just stuff in terms of like Hearts, for example. They'll be playing their games away in Europe, jumping on a plane that night, getting back in the house at say like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's been on flights. You'd be
I agree.
absolute shite the next day in training, probably the day after that as well, potentially.
I think all of that you're saying, and Matthew, I like your point there you said about not being able to train. I think the top managers in Europe have to be able to get their ideas and what they want across tactically almost more in
100%.
meetings than in the training sessions these days. Like, I think it's almost like sitting with a computer with all the data they have more than on the pitch when you're playing every 2 days, because you just have to recover.
You need to be careful, because some players don't like that though.
I know. You need to buy people that
Some
are
players don't want to sit in meetings and watch loads of videos.
Yep.
And it's also like how long the videos are and how long you can like actually get the information you want to put across to them.
Yeah.
Was it Rafa Benitez was dreadful for like just meeting after meeting, just constantly video,
quite
hours,
boring. Yeah.
hours, and supposedly like it was like a divide. Like supposedly loads of players were saying to Gerrard like it's too much. Like, but also some obviously people were benefiting off it. But yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Do you think Hearts have... Ali, you obviously watch Hearts. Do you think that was a big thing to do with Hearts? Like, do you think they were... I don't know. Like the Europe thing. Just with... I mean, Hearts are bottom of the league right now.
I think I know,
mental.
but they're not playing like that. A lot of it's down to Shankland. I think their actual general play and build-up play, their patterns of play, is a lot better than what they were under Naismith.
Okay.
And the difference is Shankland's just not scoring everything he sees. He's scored like 30 goals the last 2 seasons, and now he's got 1 in his last 26 games.
Most important thing in the game, goals.
And over the last 2 years, you're thinking, and who's actually going to score goals if Shankland doesn't? And this is what's happening. They've never signed, not a replacement, but someone to support him in case he did go through this sort of form. With Europe, I don't know. I think Europe takes a lot out of Hearts because of just like the whole atmosphere, the build up. Like Tynecastle gets bouncing, the whole like just energy about the place, and then to play a St Johnstone away 3 days later, it's really hard to get yourself back up for that when it's a proper battle and like a horrible game to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's got a factor, but I don't know. I have a joke with a couple of my Hearts pals that I think Hearts will still finish top 6. They're not having it. Like I generally think like the play is promising.
Yeah.
They need to invest in January. 2 or 3 a couple of strikers and someone in the wide area definitely needs to be addressed.
To be a bit better.
What Shankland done though, that spell he had, like, I mean, pretty outrageous, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Aye.
when did Hearts last have someone that?
John Robertson.
So
Rudy Scatchell?
Oh, as a like a
not to that,
Yeah, not
big
to
goal,
that
not to that
consistent,
extent.
yeah.
as
right?
like a goal scoring striker.
Yeah, I mean hitting like 30 or 30 plus. I mean,
Yeah.
You don't get that.
John
and
Robertson in the
Like-
90s.
like it was almost like Hearts were like massively overachieving with that. You know what I mean? Like it just won them so many games. But it's really interesting as a striker, eh? Like he must be fucking scratching his head. Like how can he go from doing that to then? Like
Must
you
be
see
so
it happen
much-
to strikers. You see it happen to strikers all the time, though. Eh?
Must be so much about confidence.
This different
Goal
form
scoring's
is
a weird
Right.
thing. Scoring goals is a weird thing. Like it's such
Yeah.
a weird thing.
Weird
How it
thing.
can go for you and it doesn't go for you.
We went to Hearts Celtic the other week, and he literally got the ball 1-on-1 7 yards out and
squared it
tried to square it.
to Cammy Devlin of all people.
Yeah, and then he missed a penalty on Thursday as well, didn't
Yeah, blazed it over the bar.
he? Yeah.
Confidence, I think, is so underappreciated in football. And
Yep.
we're talking about obviously City beforehand, and you look at all those. I thought Haaland, when I looked at his touches when he did get the ball and what he was doing, I was like, you can tell as he's got no confidence.
Yeah.
Like he just can't get a feel for the ball. Like he doesn't know to move here or there, and I think it's just totally like underappreciated in football. And I guess it begs the question: how do you get it? I think one of the key things for a manager is to try and get confidence in the team and also within individuals.
Of course.
And it's pretty complex, I think. But
Of course it
it's
is,
interesting now.
And at the end of the day, the one thing that gives you that the most is winning. And I think whatever
Oh.
you're doing, if you're Amarim or you're Pep, winning will keep everyone on your side.
Oh, 100%.
And it will keep momentum high. It will keep everything high. We can talk about tactics. You can talk about all that, but winning is something in itself. Trying to think what else, boys. Aberdeen are starting to just draw games they should probably winning. That they were winning at the start of the season.
It's always going to be impossible to keep up what they were doing, no way.
Rangers are
Well, that was
grinding
mental.
out results.
Annoyingly.
Yeah, I think that's gonna. I was excited for it. I was excited for a little split, but I don't know if they've got it in them.
Yeah, I mean, Aberdeen won. What was their run? 9 out of their first 10 games or something.
Yeah,
Like, they're not ever going to keep that up. And yeah, they're stiffened slightly.
It's a long season, eh?
Yeah.
A season's
What is the
long as
gap? What is
fuck,
it? Is
man.
it still like 6 points
still
5, I
about
think.
6. I'm just getting it up now.
between Aberdeen and Rangers?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm just
right.
getting it up now. When did Hearts play on Sunday? No, Saturday.
Yeah,
Hearts
Sunday
played,
1-1.
Hearts played yesterday.
Hearts played
1-1.
yesterday. Why am I not getting 1-1? Anyway, I mean, yeah, it's about 6 points or something. Yeah, Aberdeen are Rangers are grinding that out, man. Rangers are just grinding it out, and they're getting little. Was it an own goal yesterday against St Johnson as well?
Aye, wee Holty, former player.
Someone's paid him to kick that to goal. Like
It's 7 to be fair.
7. Oh, excuse me, I couldn't get it up anyway.
I think that'll go down to the wire as well.
Oh,
I think
to be-
Aberdeen will stay pretty relatively solid.
In the mix.
Yeah.
Rangers do have a game in hand, to be fair.
Yeah.
It was just always going to be. They're winning every week. They just can't keep that up.
Aberdeen got Celtic on Wednesday, I think. Had a little look earlier. I think Aberdeen Celtic's on Wednesday. So it's a big game. Anyone else? Anything else that we don't think we've hit? Obviously talked a lot about Liverpool and City. We touched on Chelsea. We've chatted about Brighton. Probably another Gary O'Neill shout, but I like Areola at Bournemouth. I like Bournemouth.
Oh, here we
Like
go,
the way
man.
they play. They'll probably get relegated next season.
Cunt likes every fucking
Yeah.
manager.
Hey, listen, just speaking about one player's making a difference.
Is he beginning out with Central C or not?
I don't think he's been hanging out with Central C now, mate. Fuck off. I think it's one of those again. If you look at the other way, Wolves under Pedro Neto had a bit of and Cunha's given it them a season, but Neto was a good level. Lose Neto and the team ultimately dipped. You've not got the goals. You've not got.
How good's Cunha though?
Yeah, he's
So good,
unbelievable.
mate.
Wow.
It should be on the
He
radar.
is
He's
unreal.
25. I had a look. 25, I think.
Is he?
Yeah, so he's at a good age. Be interesting to see how he does.
He could definitely play for any team. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lastly,
United system, he could be naughty in that. Like,
who?
Cunha, one of those.
And one of those 10 slots.
One of those 10 slots.
Instead
Yeah.
of Xerxes.
Big boy. Lastly, because I noted it down literally before I left the house, and because it's kind of like flown under the radar a little bit, but Van Nistelrooy's at Leicester.
Yeah.
Interesting. I quite like that. I thought he did really well at United when he had those games.
His wee addition at
Wait,
United
was it-
worked wonders.
He
Yeah.
beat Leicester twice, didn't he?
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
forget me. I had that PSV job
They were
for
good.
a while.
Yeah.
They were good.
They were
That's a huge job, by the way.
I liked his
It's a
demeanour.
huge job.
I liked his demeanour. I like how he spoke at United. I know it was a lose-lose for him, but he looked like he got a little something going with it. He almost ignited it for Amarim a little bit. I like it.
He came across really well, eh?
He
Like
did.
he looked the part.
It'll be interesting to see how they get on under Van Nistelrooy. I mean, it's a different battle, isn't it? Because you're at the bottom. You're battling to stay up, really. So
Tough squad he's got there as
Yeah.
well, man. I mean, yeah, it's not it's not the best. Like,
anything else? Covered everything?
nah,
Nah.
Covered it all.
over and out.
Quite rapid over and out. Big Christmas period coming up. A lot of games, thick and fast. I think it's too easy to say things are over and done with, whether it's from the Liverpool point of view, Aberdeen and Rangers, 4th place at the bottom, because as we all know, it's the time of the season where even fantasy gets fucking chaotic. And injury, I mean, I'm plagued at the back with injuries. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, my whole plan that I had is now out the window, and I can only manage what a manager feels like.
I'm wobbling a bit.
You are wobbling, mate. You're
I'm
wobbling.
stuttering.
I
You're
fucking
wobbling.
hate
I've
that.
got a wee gem.
You've got a wee gem of a transfer, or?
So the boy at Bournemouth at the back that everyone's putting in.
Yeah. It totally is. He loves that guy.
Oh man, I want Liverpool to sign him so bad, mate.
Love
And
The
they
guy that
obviously
signed from
done.
Juventus. Was
What?
it Juventus?
I don't know.
Nah.
It's 4.4 mil on fantasy. I know
Yeah,
that.
mate. I was sitting on my
What's his name again,
commute. Carrickers.
Carrick.
Sitting on my commute, and I was like, right, I need to obviously bring a defender, and I was going down. I was like, it was for Conor Bradley that I've literally got like 4 point whatever in the bank, and scrolling, scoring, his name pops up. I'm like, mate, he's that cheap. Couldn't have clicked it.
So I've
quick
actually
enough.
guessed it. Is that him?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Fuck's sake.
See, mate,
Literally
he's
on
that. By the way, oh,
On every single podcast about fantasy, the fucking idiot FPL Andy and that are going on about this guy.
Yeah, mate.
So I don't know
Oh,
if it's
really?
classed as a gem.
Yeah.
But anyway, you kick on, son.
I've just
Check
watched.
on
I've
it.
just
I'm
watched
coming for
watched
you.
him play loads, and
Adam and Rose top of our
Way to
fantasy.
sign
I
him,
don't know
Yeah,
what's
mate.
it's a
happening.
fucking disgrace.
I don't know what's happening.
Anyway,
But no, that'll do us, boys. Reds are top of the league. 9 points clear of Arsenal and Chelsea. Thanks again, and we'll try to get one in before Christmas, or maybe just into the new year. But
sweet.
yeah,
yep.
Sounds
do it.
good.
On the
Cool.
Reds.
Cheers.
Cheers.